Despicable, bro. Bloody Game is my favorite Korean survival show. It's my favorite Korean franchise, and this is actually the first time that I get to experience a season as it airs, which makes it equal parts special and painful as well that I can't just binge everything at once. But last night here in the West, we got the first two episodes of the highly anticipated spin-off Bloody Game X, and it far exceeded my already high expectations, so in this video, I'm going to talk about it. Full spoilers, of course, for all of Bloody Game, The Genius, Single Inferno. The first episode starts with the classic format they've used since season 2, which is to take all the contestants, bring them to the middle of nowhere, blindfold them, gag them, tie them to chairs, and once production is ready, they hit a switch and all of their electronic handcuffs fall off. The location is a mix between seasons 2 and 3, where season 2 was filmed in Indonesia, so it was themed to be tropical with like a jungle temple run vibe, and season 3 was themed to be utopian, so it was very like clean urban sprawl with a Lumio City tinge to it. For this season, the starting location is more or less the same. It's an abandoned building in the middle of the woods, but it's super foggy and it's pouring rain. Like everyone is soaked to where I can't even tell if the rain is real or not because how much of it the camera is capturing. The first shot of a contestant that we see is actually Sungyoung from Exchange 4. And since everyone is blindfolded and gagged, I was thinking they all kind of look like the mascot from The Genius. What's his name? Like bandage guy. But I was also thinking, is them showing Sungyoung first some sort of foreshadowing? Probably not, but well, we'll get there. Of course, what makes the season new and unique is the team format, so all 20 contestants are chained together here in groups of 4 with matching blindfolds in their team color. The first contestant to take off their blindfold and reveal their face is, of course, Kyung-hoon. Super exciting. It's the return of the Kingslayer, and as a fan of the genre, like, you can't not be hyped for that. Although I will say Kyung-hoon, for the first 2 episodes, he's actually really quiet and timid. You know, he's known for causing chaos, but I think for these first 2 episodes, he's just trying to coast by and not get too heavily involved early on, unlike Jinho. Bro, these 2 episodes, this episode especially is mostly narrated by Jinho and the Green Team, Team P3. They are constantly at the center of attention, which is funny because, you know, Jinho hates it. Once Jinho takes off his blindfold, he's already complaining. This guy's 43 now, like he's such an unk. But actually, Jinho is the one who introduces most of the OGs to the viewers. He's like, okay, this is Kyung-hoon, this is Yoo-hyun, and then this is the real foreshadowing. His eyes fall onto Sangmin, and he just starts laughing because he knows like Sangmin is about to unleash pandemonium upon this cast. If you don't know, Lee Sang-min, aka the Black Magician, is a Korean survival show GOAT. He's my favorite contestant on any of these shows, and he's a pure political player known for causing chaos with these outrageous schemes and plots which don't always work out, okay? But they enthrall you into hoping and believing that he can pull it off, thus his nickname. Sangmin and Team P1 just go full villain arc here, and I love it. But for now, he's aura farming in the rain with his APX 1017 Alix 9SM collaborative hoodie, which retails for $1,000, by the way. But Sangmin's opening monologue is so drab and laid back in comparison to Jinho, where he's, you know, interviewing hoodie on, by the way, hoodie on, and he's like, yeah, I turn to my right, I see Kyung-hoon. I turn to my left, I see Jinho. Yeah, super winnable. Bro, he's hilarious. That's my go, bro. He's going full-on supervillain for this season, and I am here for it. But after Jinho introduces the OGs, Zitza introduces the rookies with the most slanderous introduction ever. Yo, this guy Zitza is one of one. He's so brash. Like, he is the main commentator of the show, and I do like that a lot, but I feel like it's just because he's not just a yapper, but he's an openly slanderous yapper. He treats his interviews like he's on a Discord call, and you know what? I get why he has so much screen time, because his commentary is peak, okay? He tells the interviewers, like, guys, respectfully, I take off my blindfold, I see the orange team, and I have no clue who these people are. Yo, dude, that is like, you can tell he went to Utah because he just has the feel of more of a Western reality star compared to the other contestants. And then, of course, it has to be said, Hyesun taking off Gwanhee's blindfold is a producer masterclass, okay? No, that is so despicable, bro. Somehow, some way, he's the only guy who can't take off his blindfold, and then Hyesun, who's sitting right next to him, has to take that off for him. No, that's not real, okay? Don't believe that. They definitely kept his arms bound by the electronic lock for like a bit longer just for that moment. But once everyone is more settled in their confinement, the announcer formally introduces this season's cast. And so all the teams get a little media moment here to explain why they think they're gonna win. Predictably, okay, I said this was gonna happen in my predictions video, but P3 is chilling, okay? They're talking crazy right now about how, oh, they're the strongest team. And look, even Taekyun, he tells the interviewer, like, look, objectively speaking, P3 is outstandingly strong in games. Like, look, right? You gotta say good things about your team. That's just how it is. But when Big Woo said, no restaurant can be better than the original, which of course he's using a food metaphor, first of all. I was like, yeah, nobody here believes you, bro. I'll be honest, I had zero expectations for Big Woo. Like, I was talking crazy on him in my predictions video saying, you know, he's probably the worst player on here because the only thing he brings is physicality, but that's canceled out by him being like super old. He's not even a current athlete anymore. He's an ex-athlete. But I watched this episode and what, like 15 minutes in, I was like, oh man, I gotta issue a formal apology to this guy. The opening puzzle is the first come first serve team game where everyone is sitting there bound in rope and the last team to escape loses. It's actually, I think, the easiest opening puzzle they've done so far. I couldn't solve a single one, okay, being honest. But this time there's like 3 puzzles and you multiply the solutions together to open the padlock and escape. Actually, you know what? I did solve the second one out of luck. But I was actually really sad that I couldn't figure out the first one because it was like, what, like a cat equals 4 legs? Like a cat has 4 legs, so then TAC equals 4 because TAC backwards is CAT. Like, that's so dumb, bro. But Zitza, of course, is storytelling here, giving that play-by-play commentary. This guy's basically Usopp, okay? But he's like, yeah, so this season, I guess you guys in production wanted to make it impossible for us to escape. The ropes are tied tighter than ever. The chairs are metal this time. Because, you know, in the previous seasons, the chairs were wood. So if you weren't that, like, good at the puzzles, you could just break the chairs and escape without solving the riddle. And so I'm fully immersed in this guy's breakdown. I'm like, okay, wow. So I guess this season, they only want the book smart people to shine in the opening puzzle because, like, what are the rest of the people gonna do? I guess they're saving all the physical stuff for later. Little did I know this was actually an aura lob because everybody is busy stressing about solving these puzzles, and then out of nowhere, the camera like slowly pans over to Big Woo, and he's getting out of the chair. I'm like, I kid you not, I audibly like screamed. Like, this is the true Curry Barker modern jump scare. I could not believe it. And then he goes on to have like a monologue. A Big Woo monologue talking about how he didn't even bother looking at the puzzles and saying like, oh, people who are smart should use their brains, and people like me, us athletes, we got our bodies. Whoa, bro. Like, why is Big Woo giving an aura monologue right now? What is happening? Technically, it was actually Ha Sung-jin who got fully out of his chair first, but we are not giving that man a single ounce of credit. I will forever associate that man with a clip of him losing to Dex. But Team P1 ended up winning the opening game, which got me cheering and giggling, you know, I can't lie. Again, I would like to formally apologize to 2-time Olympic gold medalist Big Woo, the biggest of woos. The next team to get out in second place is Team P2, thanks to Jimin actually giving them the escape code on her way out, setting the foundation for a future alliance which will potentially never come to be. Again, we'll get there. The third team to get out, though, are the frontrunners, Team P3, who actually ended up getting bailed out by Sungbum. Surprisingly, Sungbum, after watching like these 2 episodes, I think he actually gave the best performance of the entire cast. He might be my MVP. First of all, most importantly, let's talk about aura, okay? Like, every shot of Sungbum in that opening sequence of the game where he's just like so relaxed in his chair, just sitting there in a leather jacket, surrounded by mist with the raindrops brushing off of him. Yo, every shot fills me with disdain at the unfairness of life. But for the actual gameplay, the situation is this, right? Zitza breaks it down and he says, look, if this was martial arts fiction, our team would be the righteous sect. Which, first of all, that's a crazy thing to say. Like, bro's being interviewed for a reality show and he's talking about Mura Manhwa. Secondly, Zitza, bro, read Magic Emperor, Absolute Regression, Return of the Mad Demon. Nobody likes the righteous sect in Mura Manhwa, okay? In fact, they should actually be called the self-righteous sect because they're usually the villains these days. But lastly, I mean, he is right because he's saying that on his team, there's nobody whose forte is being physically strong. All 4 of their members are nerds who excel in contests of intelligence and wit and mogging. It is what it is, you know? That's why they're the front runner, since contests of physicality are their only weakness. But anywho, that Sungbum lock-in gave me chills. I don't want to see a single tier list out there where he is below A tier, because that man is so good. He's like, look, guys, there is just no way we escape this unless we solve the puzzle, so I'm just going to solve it myself. And then it's just the first episode already, but he's popping ult. He gets his hands free, and then he does the special move, plugging his ears, going into super concentration mode. He opens his eyes, and he just solves it. So his team is free because of him, with a bit of a caveat, because in 4th place is Team Challengers, Team C, and in last place, having to be exiled into the woods, is Team Rookies, Team R. I didn't expect everyone would slander Team R so much off rip as much as they did. It might be because they just lost the opening game, but everybody basically says like, yo, you didn't grow up in these streets. Jimin said, this is crazy, she said they look easy to beat, which it's the exact same thing that Zitza said actually, but he went even further because he said with chest, it's just so fun to watch. Like, I don't want those guys hurt or injured, but I want them, like, right up to that point. And then he smiled with all 32. That's despicable. But there's actually a lot that happened really fast in the last 10% of that game. One is that Guanhee, notorious from Singles Inferno fame, actually had the power to change the rankings. This is because since he and El Sungjin are both basketball players, once El Sungjin is free, he somehow convinces him to also free him, despite being on a different team. Now, when I saw this, I thought, okay, he's completely new to the survival game genre, and this kind of shameless gameplay style actually fits him where, you know, he has this public image of being an undeserved womanizer, where Sangmin jokes about this later, actually, but he always manages to get people to play along with his antics. So I see potential, actually, in him to be a strong political player, another Sangmin or Jimin-like character there. But, of course, because of his inexperience and, more importantly, the script and the fan service, he passes on Ha Sungjin's, or sorry, L Sungjin, my bad. I wonder if that joke's getting old now. But he passes on Ha Sungjin's goodwill, and he goes to help Hyesun and Jinho instead of his own team, which is crazy. This single decision solidified them in last place, meaning that we don't actually get to see them probably until episode 3 comes out, as they are now forced to infinitely peel garlic in the woods and sleep among insects until the deathmatch. More on this later, but okay, 2 things for now. First is that I'm the most disappointed in Seungyeong, I think, because I had high hopes for him. There's still many episodes left where he can be villainous and whatnot and show his character a bit more, but I mean, it's just a bit disgraceful just because he's quite fit, you know, he's very physically fit amongst all the contestants, so I think the ideal strategy would be to have him and Gwan Hee break free and then free their team like Team P2 did, but he actually ended up being, the last person tied up, unable to break free at all, and because of him, the team lost. It's sad to see. Again, is that opening shot foreshadowing? But secondly, if Gwan Hee freed him, that potentially would have made their team 3rd place, because actually the ropes, even after the lock is removed, are just so tightly bound that you still need a good amount of physical strength to remove them. So even after Sungbum does his thing and he solves the puzzle, there's actually a high chance that Team P3 comes in last place if Gwan Hee doesn't help them out. And honestly, they deserved it too, because who knows what would have happened if Zitza didn't accidentally give everyone the escape code. I've said this many times before, but Zitza always makes mistakes like this when the stakes are low, and somehow always pulls through when the stakes are high. And these 2 episodes just prove me right. He does this again during the start of the money challenge. But once the game is done and Team R is cast into the wilderness, each of the other teams gets to view the main building for the season in the order that they finish. The central location for the season is like a 6-7 story villa where each floor is asymmetric, and so the building looks completely different from all angles. You know, from the outside you get this crazy cross section like a supervillain evil lasagna tower. Then they give us a preview of what is presumably the day of ambush. Not confirmed, by the way, but you know, they play essentially the same clips that were in the trailer where everybody is getting into physical altercations during a future night. It's very hard to see who's who, but I could probably figure it out, but the day of ambush is the most fun watch of the show for me, so I'm not going to look too deep into it for now. Again, it's not even guaranteed that's what it is. They always change stuff up. But if that exile building is the basement level for the season, is Team R stuck there until the day of ambush? Will they rotate them out for other teams? Will they keep them there and add more people? Potentially people who lose the deathmatch? If people are going to raid the house, are we going to do 2 attacking teams and 3 defending teams? That's what I would do. After the deathmatch, they bring everyone inside and then do like a 5-team free-for-all where they can ally with whoever they want. A lot of the details just aren't confirmed yet, but they proceed to do the initial money distribution where in order of escape time, teams get to choose how much in-game money they get. They're still doing that weird pocket watching income thing for this too, where you have to guess which team has the highest collective salary, and after balancing by the devs, it's not the craziest disparity. It's like 180k min versus 280k max. That's super fair, but it is crazy though that Team P3 still came out with the most money even after getting 3rd pick. That is just, I always tell my friend who's a big Jinho guy that I feel like it must be so hard to be a Jinho fan, but with this season, I feel like a lot of things are going his way, so you know, there's a good shot that Team P3 wins this. I mean, I predicted that they would, you know. But after a couple discussion scenes, they finally start the first main match, aka the money challenge of the series, with a game called Running Mate. Now, when I first heard this, I was like, what could this possibly be? But when they started explaining it, I was like, hold on. I've actually played this game before. A couple lifetimes ago, this was introduced to me as a game called Screw Your Neighbor. Yeah, I know, I just heard 2 gasps from California. It's essentially a cross between a gambling and a trick-taking game where everyone gets a set amount of cards and then you bet how many rounds you can win after looking at your cards. This variation has way more rules though. As Yoo Hyun says, planning for this is tough because there's no winning strategy unless you play politics. Now at this point, I was very scared because I'm Team P1 till I die, okay? And this is theoretically P1's game to go crazy because they have 2 of the most notorious political players in the genre in the Black Magician Lee Sang-min and the icon of betrayal Park Ji-min. Now the thing is though, with political players, is that after their breakout season, everyone is aware of them. And so, everyone is wary of them. And so I'm sitting here like, man, is my goat washed? Like, what could he possibly do to influence this game when nobody trusts, like, anyone on their team? But then, the camera cuts to Team P3, and for a long time, we get a full breakdown of Team P3's strategy for the opening round. There's 8 rounds, and we get a full in-depth look on what they're going to do for round 1. Now I'm starting to get excited, because for a while, as Jinho and Zitza are explaining, we don't hear a single thing about Team P1, which is great. Music to my ears, cinema to my eyes, okay? Because that means diabolical Korean editing is at play, and they are cooking something crazy. But before that, speaking of cooking, let's talk again about Team P3. Before the game even starts, Zitza and Sungbum are arguing, and they actually don't stop arguing until the end of episode 2. At the end of the day, though, they are part of the strongest team. Why? Because, well, I do think they work amazingly together under Jinho's leadership. Hyesun unfortunately really had no presence in these 2 episodes. Her one notable action is taking off Gwanhee's blindfold for the fans, but that's in large part because of this team comp, I guess. Like, they should actually be really grateful to have her on the team, or else the team would not work. Because as Jinho says, with this team, there's too many cooks in the kitchen, right? AKA Sungbum and Zitza are 2 people who are strongly opinionated. But the thing is that Team P3 is Jinho's team, right? Like, his leadership makes or breaks their team. Okay, fine, Sungbum has one opinion, Zitza has another, they're fighting, they can't agree. Well, guess what? It's up to you as their senior and as their team leader to make a decision. But for now, it's not going too well for them, so they team up with Team C to brainstorm a strategy for round 1 of the money challenge. I said Sungbum is probably MVP for these 2 episodes, but what really drives me to that conclusion is that, okay, he bailed out his team during the first come first serve team game, that's great, but during the main match, the money challenge, in their entire alliance, he's the only guy who has any sort of backup plan or danger sense. The P3 and Team C alliance crafts this master plan, which is mostly Zitza's plan, let's be real. And he's like, guys, wait. This plan is perfect, but with a singular flaw. We're last in the turn order, so if Team P1 bets 0 wins before us, we lose the game, right? And everybody, especially Zitza, is like, nah, don't even worry about that, bro. Nah, we got this. Nah, we got this in the bag. There's no way they would ever do that. You know what? God bless Sungbum, man. Like, cause, yo, he even has the wherewithal to say in the interview, look, I think this is a bad idea, but I am just one part of the team. You know, if I am outvoted against and we are stuck in a deadlock, I just have to concede to my team and help operations just go as smoothly and efficiently as possible. Again, Jinho's the team leader. He decides the direction that they should go. And so he should step up. And so boom, right? They finalize this plan and round 1 starts. Each of the team representatives goes to play. And so the rest of the team just has to wait around for results. And so while I think Hyesun is playing for them, they're just waiting around in their room. And suddenly, Sangmin enters, swirling a wine glass. And so I'm sitting up in my seat now, right? And I'm like, okay, is it time for magic? What's this guy gonna do? And he just casually sits down with them and he says, look, guys, our team just doesn't want to be last. Like, can we just ally with each other and support whoever gets points early? And Zitza and Jinho are like, yeah, for sure, little bro. Let's work together. We got nothing to lose. So Sangmin's like, bet. Okay, I'll go tell my team. And he just leaves. And that's actually all we get from Sangmin for episode 1. Then we finally get to see what's going on in the game room. The dealer starts the game and Team P3 just gets obliterated in round 1. Now, this actually has nothing to do with Sangmin and is all just Taekyun's ability. What he did is that why Zitza and Co were so blindsided by this was because they were just convinced the other 2 teams didn't team up together. Only Sungbum was ever concerned about this, which is crazy to me. Because what they show in the final cut is that as soon as the planning starts, Team P3 and Team C just leave together. And they just start strategizing together, leaving the other 2 teams just standing in the main room. So they could have easily just worked together. Like, oh, you guys want to team up? Okay, fine, we'll team up then. It was actually more surprising to find out they didn't team up. They for real just like sent Taekyun in there to try and win by himself. And, you know, he managed to do it. He on the spot allied with Team P2 in the game room and they just won together after that. I originally said in my predictions video that I was scared Taekyun would forever be a one-hit wonder off of season 1. And after watching 1 episode of the spin-off, that sentiment has now reached Zitza levels of slander in Nepal. So, like Big Woo, I would like to offer my sincerest apologies to Taekyun. He has solidified himself as Team P1's anchor, but also just a top contender in the game. You know, he needs to get like a nickname or something though, or I need to make one for him, so that he just sounds cooler. But that's basically the end of the episode. They do show a bit from round 2, where the cliffhanger is that Team P3 sends Sungbum out to betray the representative of Team C, Kang Ji-hoo, who is the youngest contestant, but also his junior from Keist. But on to episode 2 now. I spent so much time on episode 1, so I think I'll condense this one. But episode 2 is the Sangmin episode. Here we get to see everyone prey on the Black Magician's downfall while he pulls off the greatest mind control scheme since Infinite Tsukuyomi. The entire episode covers rounds 2 to 7 of the Money Challenge, where it starts off with a signature Zitza recap, and he's rightfully glazing my goat saying he's a genius. When Sangmin walked into Team P3's room swirling his wine glass, he got them to agree to an alliance where they help whoever wins round 1. Now, as we know, they were extremely confident, but Sangmin's team ended up winning round 1. So Basically, he finessed them into agreeing to help his team win. And so Zitz is sitting there and Sangmin got him messed up, bro. Yo, this man got inflicted with paranoia. He's overthinking everything now. Like, oh, Sangmin really, did he really plan this far ahead? Is me thinking this also part of his plan? Team P3 is shook. Nobody knows what's going on, but the next round is about to start. So Zitz and Jinho are talking with P1 about this alliance thing, and they're like, man, well, I mean, I guess we gotta betray Team C and help Team P1 win. And so that's what they do, and Team P1 wins again. Now listen, okay? You guys know I'm Team P1, you know, Team Sangmin, Team Black Magician, and I won't listen. And so I love this, and it's an absolutely horrible move from Team P1. They won the first round with Team P2 and agreed to ally with them, but, you know, since they just immediately betray them, nobody on the show wants to work with them anymore, and so, you know, they lose. They end up placing dead last in the money challenge, and the other 3 teams just 3v1 them, giving them no chance to win. As an absolutely shameless P1 defender, I will say that this is all very easy to say in retrospect with the narrative of the final cut, because from their perspective, Taekyun's got to play the game, so he goes out to play. Sangmin goes out to chat with P3 while everybody's waiting around for the game to finish. They both come back. Taekyun's allied with P2, Sangmin's allied with P3, and they just decide to ally with P3 because, I don't know, Sangmin's the team leader, I guess. Very unfair to Taekyun for sure. But here's why I am not mad at this at all, right? Outcome aside, I love their attitude, including Taekyun and like just all of them, yeah. They probably did during filming, but not for a single second do we see any of them apologize during their interviews or with each other when they just talk privately. They are all on the same page and they all fully commit to the villain role, especially during these interviews, and I love it. Yo, Jimin really... Yo, Jimin really said, like, with like dead serious, she's like, Team C, more like Team Clowns. Like, just like, no joke whatsoever, but it's so good, right? And then Taekyun said, he's like, oh, Zitz is complaining to me about not understanding the rules. Like, why is that my fault? Big Woo talking crazy too, and of course Sangmin. Bro, Sangmin, yo, Sangmin put everyone into a genjutsu, bro, that's tough. That short scene where he walked into Team P3's room with a wine glass has layers to it. Because he walked out with both Zitza and Jinho just completely convinced that the rules are just whatever he made them up to be. Like, this is peak Black Magician right here. Sangmin initially sat down and was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go in there and lie. And then actually, after his lie was exposed, he could have just ended it there and gone away with no repercussions. Been like, oh, whoops, I didn't understand it correctly, my bad, guys. But no, for nothing but love of the game, he went out there again and just lied more. Again, they shouldn't have betrayed Team P2. Like, their alliance was only up to round 6 in the first place, and the last couple rounds are worth more points. So early betrayal is very much useless, but what's done is done. They definitely made a mistake, but every single member of Team P1 looked forward, never gave up, and they did everything they possibly could to pursue victory until the last second. And you know what? That's what I like to see. Right now, they got heart, okay? They got passion. And they're giving their all in a way that no other team is, okay? Zitz is over here leading the 3-team Muram alliance, planning to counter any move that Team P1 makes. And that's the thing, okay? Everyone is playing around them. They are the main characters. What did Dave say? Would you rather be the person talking or the person doing all the things that people talk about? There's a reason that some of these shows don't do well, especially overseas, when they're like too gameplay focused. Yes, games are a big part of the show, duh. But really, these shows are about storyline, right? And that's actually something production can't control. Devil's Plan Season 1, which I love, by the way, I love that show, is the biggest victim of this. But you can see the difference in perspective emphasized by production. You know, Team 3 has absolutely no reason whatsoever to turn down the 3-team alliance because they're like the only team that gets anything from it, right? They get the prize money for winning the money challenge, they get the vague allegiance from the other 2 teams, and of course, as like the winner, nobody on their team at all is at risk of any sort of elimination, so they just get handed a free victory by the other 2 teams. They repeat this many times during the episode, but only the one team that wins the game, like, gets anything, while everyone else has to do the deathmatch. And so Team P1, knowing that it's just physically impossible for them to win, goes to Team P2 and they're like, hey, like, we can't win anyways. Do you guys want to win? We can easily do that for you. And they're like, nah, Team P3 can win and we'll just do the deathmatch. Yunbi opens up about this in his interview where he's like, yeah, Team P1 came to us with this offer and they're just right. Like, it's the best decision that makes the most sense, but it's fine, we can lose. Same thing with Jin Hyung, where he's in the postgame telling the interviewer, yeah, thanks to Ha Sungjin willing to go to the deathmatch for us, we can all just relax and chill and play freely. Bro, be for real, man. Like, there's just a lack of passion and lack of care shown in the final edit. Meanwhile, this is like a 20-person cast, okay? And we get 5 minutes of Sangmin doing parkour on like the outside of the building like prime Alex Honnold to get even the tiniest sliver of information for his team to turn things around. Like, we on Team P1 are different. Their valiant last and viable attempt now is to offer victory to Team C, and so they do that and they actually accept. The script is so crazy, by the way. Like, the way I felt watching this was the same way I felt watching The Genius Season 4, Episode 3, which was my favorite episode of the season. And it's the episode where Kyung-hoon eliminates Sangmin. Sad. But there's a lot of parallels between that episode and this one. Sangmin from minute 1 is playing up the whole I hate Kyung-hoon thing, and he's reciprocating for the storyline, right? In Kyung-hoon's initial interview, he says that Sangmin's just mad because he eliminated him at the peak of his career, which, okay, whoa, ouch, that hurts to hear as a Sangmin fan. Because it's true, but there is a lot of context that's lost on people who haven't watched The Genius. What made Kyung-hoon the main character in that show was his development. You know, he started off as a younger member, weak in games, coming off a super early elimination from the previous season, and then placed amongst one of the most star-studded survival game casts of all time. He caused so much chaos and trouble for people, but it was actually Sangmin who took him under his wing and helped him out. I get a similar vibe, actually, where back in the day, Sangmin helped Kyung-hoon out, and now Kyung-hoon's a senior member looking out for Ji-hoo. But I remember in that episode, nobody wanted to work with Kyung-hoon anymore, except for Sangmin. And so he involved him in one of his signature schemes as the Black Magician, and they ended up just failing together because Kyung-hoon messed up. So in that deathmatch, Kyung-hoon eliminated my GOAT, and it was sad and it was fair play. But honestly, he was forced to because of his own failings. He then went on to go after people in retribution, in honor of Sangmin. Later in the show, Sangmin actually comes back as an assistant, and he gets to have his moment, turn to the camera, and declare his support for Kyung-hoon. And he tells him, like, yo, you made it far, you've grown a lot, you gotta win it. It was a beautiful storyline that Dongmin had the pleasure of ending. So all that to say, here it's just very nostalgic and poetic the way they showed it. Sangmin, Kyung-hoon, Jinho all in the same game room, and they just execute Sangmin fast. And so it's just dead silent, super tense, and Sangmin with no reaction preemptively just turns around and walks out of the room. First of all, aura. Second of all, when everybody's celebrating the vanquishing of the Demon Lord, Kyung-hoon is the only one who feels bad for Sangmin. He's like, this is a dirty play, which it never really is because betrayal is the point of the show. But at the very least, it didn't feel good and it didn't make it sense for their team either since they're just not even going to win. So during the mid-game festivities, he sneaks out onto the terrace alone and pulls out a big white vape in the big 2-6. First of all, I mean, I guess it isn't a cig, so W lungs. But second of all, Kyung-hoon, bro, that vape is massive. It looks like a barbecue lighter. Eventually, Team P1 finds Kyung-hoon and they ask him for a quick chat, and they give him the same proposal they gave Team P2, where they're like, hey, we can make you guys win if you want, and you don't have to do the deathmatch, and Kyung-hoon actually agrees to this. He's like, yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's the right thing to do. Well, I mean, you're offering me your cards. I'll take all your cards, and Kang Ji-hoo can analyze them, and we're good to go. So they do that, and Yoo-hyun just throws a tantrum and vetoes it. Bro, what is this? First of all, someone needs to tell me where this Yoo-hyun glaze originated from, okay? They are absolutely teasing this Yoo-hyun and Seungju matchup, and I will feel robbed at this point if I don't get it. But Seungju from start to finish is serendipitously feeling Yoo-hyun's aura, and he doesn't even have aura. At the end of episode 2, he's talking to Yeonbi like, oh, you have to be at least on Jin-hyung's level to go against Yoo-hyun. Nah, that's actually a forbidden double glaze. Like, I didn't know Yoo-hyun's name carried this much weight in the streets. But this crash out of his on Kyung-hoon, I guess I just wouldn't have expected it from a experienced survival game player. But also it just makes me think like that surprisingly Yoo-hyun is their team leader. I'm pretty sure he's the most senior member, but I mean, in this case, he had the final say. I was very surprised to see this though, because he's so passionately like, no, we must lose the game and go to the deathmatch to earn the trust of the other two teams in the long run. Bro, like, I've watched enough of these shows to know that nothing is guaranteed the next day. Your priority should always be protecting your own team members and just surviving, right? Like, that's why it's called a survival show. The sole exception to this is Dongmin, because he's Michael Jordan, he's Faker, and he's him, right? Like, he sat down last season and said, I will lead this alliance, and I will lead by example. He told everybody, like, look, I will never put any of you at risk without risking myself, right? He went to the deathmatch, killed everybody, came back, and he just said, look, as I said before, they were of no threat to me. Yoo-hyun is not built like that, okay? He's not him. At the end of this episode, he sat down with Kyung-hoon and is like, oh man, I guess we have to have this uncomfortable conversation of who from our team is potentially eliminated now. Like, okay, so you have no plan. It's like, bro, like everyone from your team would have been rich and safe if you just won the game. But you didn't, and you had a chance to, right? This is a betrayal show. Trust means nothing. Okay, boom, let's say you lose today, and you lose one of your team members. Sucks. Next day, money challenge, 2v2, you're paired up with team 1. What? You're just gonna like lose another team member because you're allied with the other two teams? So then now what? There's 2 of you, and then the next challenge is a strength game against team P2. What? You're gonna like run the ones with Ha Sung-jin and Yeonbi 2v4, and then let's say you get to the end and there's just you left. What? Yoo-hyun is gonna 1v4 team P3 and clutch up? Be for real, man. We still don't know anything about the deathmatch, the basement level, or the day of ambush, and one team still hasn't even entered the game yet. Remember, Guanhee helped Team P3, and they ran off without helping him in return, so he vowed for revenge, kinda. The lovers to enemy script is so strong that the likelihood that they come back with an anti-P3 sentiment is decently high. All these variables means that just whatever happens tomorrow is completely independent of what happens today. Again, it's called a survival show because your priority should be survival, but the game ends with P3's complete victory. They get money and safety, while everybody just now has to talk amongst themselves on who to send to the deathmatch. The episode ends super abruptly, and we don't get much information on any team's plans except a little teaser from Team P2, where, well, surprisingly, Sungjoon and Yoonbi are having a secret shadow council meetings. I didn't know they were tight like this about the fate of their team. It's kind of funny though, where they semi-joke about Jinhyung having karma waiting for him because of how he acted towards everybody in season 2. Jimin was also talking about this earlier, where she's like, why is Jinhyung so like heavily anti-betrayal now? Like, he won the show by diabolically betraying all of us. So I mean, I guess he's back on the show to try and clean up his image. It's a lot less funny when I say it and not her. But Sungju and Yeonbi go to Hasungjin for no reason, just like wants to do the deathmatch, and they were like, yo, we kind of want everybody on our team to live, so how about we send Jinhyung instead as, you know, our sharpest sword? And Hasungjin is like, I can never send my child to war. These guys are just such fools, man. Like, that one long scene of them practicing the game so viewers can also like know how the game is just so endearing, where Jinhyung is like, hey guys, like, these are the mistakes you're making. This is a better strategy. Like, you know, that is just so hashtag boyhood. But low-key, if you read between the lines, this is Hasungjin slander, because they just go out onto the balcony and they're like, yo, if that guy goes out, like, he's never coming back. But those are the 2 episodes we have right now. I said it before, but my MVP is Sungbum. You know that scene where after Jihoo and Team C betray Sangmin and Team P1, securing Team P3's victory, he comes around and he pets Jihoo and he's like, wonderful job, you did your job perfectly. I was like, well, I mean, obviously you're gonna say that because he just helped your team win. For all we know, like, Jihoo's about to hit the deathmatch next episode and get kicked out the show. Meanwhile, Sungbum and Zitsa are gonna be still arguing in the mansion. But other great performances, come on guys, you know me. Team P1, Sangmin, Taekyun, Big Woo, all had their moments to shine. Jimin, not so much, but, you know, because of her, like, prowess as an announcer, I would say that she had a great performance in her interviews, just crazy one-liners. Worst performance, though, goes to Sungyoung and Team R. Just really disappointing, with Sungyoung not even being able to leave his chair at all. But as the details are still unknown to us at the moment, I would say that they're going to come alive in the mid-game, probably in the next couple episodes before fizzling out approaching the end. We can definitely expect more singles Inferno 3 fan service incoming though. I really want to say that Zitsa and Hasungjin had terrible performances, but honestly, like, this is textbook from them. You know, Zitsa messed up so bad, but he ended up winning anyways. Like, he's just like that. Same with Hasungjin, where he's just known for making these just losing plays that nobody would ever make. I'm way more inclined to say that Yoohyun right now is 1,000,000% on fraud watch. Team C came out with a very conservative playstyle, and I just don't get, like, they didn't even get anything concrete out of it. Yoohyun is the biggest factor in this as the decision maker. We get absolutely nothing from Kim Nam. She was basically non-existent on this team for the final cut. Kang Jihoo actually had good screen time, but since he's the youngest, his role is very much to just help out wherever he can. Kyung-hoon, though, is a little disappointing, as the Chaos Incarnate Kingslayer gameplay that he's known for and that I was looking forward to is very much dormant during the opening game. In terms of what's going to happen next, I feel like Team P3 is good until like the 3rd money challenge. That's when I think people will prioritize weakening them if they're still spotless. Because of Sangmin's antics and him declaring war on Jinho, I feel like the storyline is set up for a potential get back arc on them. You know, say P1 loses one of their members next episode, they're going to be out for blood in the next game. Will Team C and Team P2 continue the 3-team alliance? I doubt it, but they could. You know, the likelihood of Team R returning, though, to team up with a team other than P3 is very high. I would guess that Team R and Team P1 will team up, but we'll see. I'm most excited to know the details of the deathmatch, though. How many people will be eliminated? Are they really getting eliminated, or is this like a basement level thing? Who's going to move to the outdoor survival area? Potentially, like, the winners of the deathmatch? A lot is just up in the air right now, and they ended it abruptly with no cliffhanger, so we'll find out in the next episode. That was a long video, but that's it. Goodbye.